And welcome to another new exciting episode of The Dinner Table. I am so excited. I want to welcome my co-host Lola. Hey Lola.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. How are you on this Monday?
Oh, it's rainy, but I'm doing good.
Okay. Then I have next to me Anyahu. Did I say that right?
Anyahu.
Anyahu. I've been
Yes,
practicing.
I know.
How's your day going?
It's going good, thank you.
Okay. What about you, Gildia? How's your day
Oh,
going?
my day is going well, besides the rain, but it's going well.
And then we got Soulflower. I'm like obsessing over your makeup right now. How's your day going today?
Doing blessed. I'm very blessed today.
Okay, good. Well, look at the food. That's the first thing I want to talk about. This show is called The Dinner Table, so we are going to eat. So before we do anything, how about we start eating the food before it gets cold? Yeah?
All right.
Yeah, let's start with the wine.
Yeah.
Since it's closer to you, Lola. It's raining outside.
Yes.
I kind of like the rain, and
That's because
sometimes
you get to stay home.
True, I do work from home. The wine is not coming out. There's that difficult bottle in there. That thing in
I
there.
don't know if I can get it out with my nails.
Oh, let me try.
Oh, you got one?
Let me try. No, I like the rain. I like the whole vibe of it. I like fall colors.
You might need that.
When
You
don't
might
have
need that
to go
back.
anywhere.
Yeah, when you're at home, or when you only have to walk down the block,
Yes.
like around the corner, and not
Appreciate
too
it for
far.
a little bit. Go back.
But I can understand, like, if you have to go on the train and do all that not extra, but like all that adult stuff.
Because you don't be adulting.
I'm an adult with a kid mind. Like I have a 7-year-old inside of me sometimes.
All day, every day, not sometimes.
Oh, Lord.
New York's
Yeah,
hard
let's
on
eat.
you too.
Like I want to eat food. Like the mac and cheese looks good. I'm hungry.
The mac and cheese.
Lola, are you gonna eat
I'm trying
today?
to decide what I want to eat first.
Yeah, I think. I
You're
mean,
one of those eaters.
yeah. Well, I don't
Get a little bit of
necessarily
everything.
eat
Put it all
mac
on
and
the plate.
cheese, so I'll get some chicken.
This is delicious. This looks good.
Doesn't it look
know.
really good? Can you put this back in?
Yes.
Though I hate reaching over people's food. Okay, I'm gonna eat fruits because I love fruits. Little forks. What else did you guys do today? Please tell me. I know, Gildia, you work with Brothers and Briefcases. So
Yeah,
were you at
so-
work today?
That's actually my company, right? So
Yeah.
I'm always at work.
Right?
But I do still freelance in the fashion industry. So that was my 9 to.
I'm sorry, you do what?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do. That's my background. I've done luxury goods for about 12 years and fashion as well. So I freelance so that I can still have time to do my passion until the money starts flowing.
So fashion is your passion?
No. Brothers and
Sorry, I can't reach you,
briefcases.
babe,
Which
so
is
I'm
your business.
Business. That's my passion. Fashion just pays the bills.
I see.
Because
fashion
really-
in New York City is a big thing, right? You work in fashion so far, right?
Yes.
You're a
I'm a
wardrobe
wardrobe
stylist.
stylist.
Oh, so I do. I'm always been in the corporate world. So right now I do visual merchandising and store planning for Fendi. So I'm more in the back end. I've always been in the back end, like.
I mean, ultimately, a wardrobe stylist is always behind the scenes,
See, yeah.
back end, so I definitely understand where you're
I'm like, everybody like, oh, you at the latest party? I don't want to be. I want to go home after 9 to
Tired.
You can put it.
I'm the same
Oh,
way,
they
though,
can't reach.
after all the work.
So you can leave it right over
Yeah,
there. I'm good with
yeah,
the fruits
yeah,
for now. And Anyahu,
Mm-hmm.
what do you do? Tell us about yourself.
I actually have the same feeling. I feel like I'm working every moment because when you have your own business, it doesn't necessarily stop. But,
Yeah.
But I work with education, schools, nonprofits.
What's the name of your business?
The Human Root. And
Okay.
so what we do is we go into spaces and we help people or challenge people talk about uncomfortable things. So racism, colorism.
All spaces? Like, you go to schools, you go to, like, what kind of space? What kind of spaces do you go to?
All spaces, people that need like the workspace or the community space to be able to do better, whatever it's supposed to be able to do with this young people or with its environment. So for school spaces with curriculum or how you teach kids. So I'll ask somebody, do you know how
you're like a nonprofit, like you do a lot.
No, I'm not a
you're
nonprofit. I'm not.
like,
I'm sorry.
No.
I started out in nonprofit.
I did too, and that's why I was like, I'm not doing that. But you know, we go into spaces and they ask us to come in, and I ask people, do you know how your identity impacts how you teach kids? Do you know what your race does when it shows up in the room? If you have a young child of color and you're a white teacher, or things like that.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. Lola, let's talk about you. You're looking good tonight.
Thank you. So are you. I'm actually in the process of transitioning from corporate America to having my own business like all of you guys do. But yeah, I have a travel blog and a travel brand called La Vida Lola.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's cute.
that's real cute. Very marketable.
Yeah, play on, of course, La Vida Loca. But I'm doing a lot of, speaking engagements, writing articles, just showing people to travel on a budget and that it can be affordable.
That's dope. I like that a lot. Are you guys aware of the Jamaican artist Spice? That's what she goes by. Her
Yes.
name is
Yeah.
Grace Jones. Okay,
Yes.
so I'm glad you guys know who she is, right? So I don't know how long ago, maybe 2 weeks now or a week
Yes,
and a half
about
ago.
2 weeks. Week and a half.
The music video?
Yeah.
When people know it was a picture first.
It was
Everybody was like,
whoa.
everybody was having a conversation. I'm like, it's makeup, guys.
Right.
So,
Okay, so
People didn't know at first,
I'm
though.
a little naive, okay? I'm a little naive. So, like, and I get busy, so sometimes I don't keep up, right? So when I saw that photo, I got upset because I'm Jamaican.
Really?
I'm Jamaican.
Why'd you
so
get
I was
upset?
like, no, because at first I thought she really did that. I was like, yo, what? Like, yo, what? Like,
Yeah, I
But
thought,
then
I thought she
But
did.
it takes
Second.
such a long time for you to actually bleach your body.
I know it took me a second, but so I want to actually show. I want to actually play the video.
Okay.
So let's cut the video and let's see what she did because I think it's really cool.
I had a dream that one day black women will start supporting each other rather than bashing each other. Ladies, never forget that you are beautiful, lovely, attractive, courageous, and kind. I am dripping melanin with honey. I'm black without apology.
It's not what you expect me to say, but I'ma go ahead and say it anyway. 'Cause I was told I would reach further if the color of my skin was lighter, and I was made to feel inferior. 'Cause society said brown girls prettier. Me love the way me look, me love me pretty black skin. Respect due to me strong melanin. Proud of me color, love the skin that I'm in. Born racism, demolish colorism. But the things when me I go say, you might not even love me back. I get hate from my own race, yes, that's a fact. 'Cause the same black people, them say I'm too black. And if you bleach out your skin, them same one come a chat. Well, since you say that I'm too black for you, I please you, do I look how you want me to? Now I'm gonna see if you're gonna say I'm too brown for you. Or do I look pretty to you? Black people, hypocrisy. Leave the girls them with low self-esteem. Who no go on like say you are fi brown, fi pretty. Fuck the whole of them dirty iniquity. This a black people hypocrisy. Leave the girls them with low self-esteem. I'm black and beautiful, I know I'm pretty. Fuck the whole of them dirty iniquity. Them say me black till me shine, till me look dirty. And it's the only line in life that will ever hurt me, because it never come from a Caucasian, trust me. This a black colorism, big hypocrisy. So if I wake up tomorrow look like a browning, oh, automatically mood carry the swing. No phone and angle like the song you me sing, because I know found no guilty for the same damn thing. What's your perception of a pretty woman? Is it straight nose with her hair well long? Black girls lose self-confidence, 'cause they attach the word ugly to her complexion. Well, since you say that I'm too black for you, I please you, do I look how you want me to? Now I'm gonna see if you're gonna say I'm too brown for you. Or do I look pretty to you? Black people, hypocrisy. Leave the girls them with low self-esteem. Who no go on like say you are fi brown, fi pretty. Fuck the whole of them dirty iniquity. This a black people hypocrisy. Leave the girls them with low self-esteem. I'm black and beautiful, I know I'm pretty.
was great. I loved it. I don't know about y'all. Spice is a Leo like me. So
And she's Jamaican.
She's Jamaican, so I just feel a special connection, even though I've never met her. So, how do you guys feel about it?
It's a good message, right? So it's amazing. I mean, it's a good marketing strategy as well, right? Like you said, she deleted all her pictures, and I'm like, oh, girl, whoever is your marketing people, your PR, they did such a great job. It's a great message.
Yeah.
And it's getting people talking.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What she did was good. I think she did it at the right time. And I think how she did it was smart.
Yeah.
I agree, her strategy.
Yeah. I think how she did it was smart. I mean, you work in fashion. So, like, think about it from, give me your perspective. From a fashion person's perspective and dealing with makeup and dealing with all of that. Like, what are your views, really, on, like, the whole thing about colorism and the whole thing about bleaching your skin and all of that? What are your views about that?
Okay, I guess it all stems down to, you know, the European standards of beauty that everyone's always trying to live up to, and especially in the higher end fashion world, I can tell you, you know, I've been in positions where there wasn't enough professionals to cater to the girls with the darker skin and the different undertones and the kinkier hair. So, especially when working with makeup behind the scenes on those shows, you know, we never really have, at least in my opinion, you don't really have that support as much as the other models with the fairer skin and the nicer, softer hair. So you definitely are exposed to a lot of that in the fashion industry.
And I know you've modeled, so, like,
Yeah.
what's your perspective?
I was actually just about to
She's
say.
like nodding her head.
Yeah, I've actually had to come to shoots with like my makeup already done, and then of course like the white makeup artist is like, oh, I'm so glad, you know, you came with your makeup done because I don't know how to do, you know, your makeup or y'all skin, and I'm like,
It won't even have the products either, right?
yeah, I'm like, okay, I kind of take offense to that.
And you should. I mean, I take offense to that. I feel like if you're dealing with people of color, then you need to hire people that know how to work with people of color.
I agree.
Because, like, skin is different. Everybody's skin is different. Like, any race, any ethnicity, even in your own race, we all have different skin.
Skin.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like you really need to know what to do with that.
Yeah.
I mean, you come from you seem like you come from more of like a political world. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, it's not necessarily political. It's more about like our healing, you know?
Yeah.
Politics is messy. Politics is fake. Politics is a game. And so really, I just think it's about our young people believing in themselves and knowing that they're enough and all these things around us, to the point where you couldn't even find stockings. Like if they say natural color or nude color, or, you know, these words that mean like you're a regular human being are not a reflection of us. It's like, what do you think people start to think of themselves, you know? So the work I'm in is just really about us being unapologetically Black, like she says.
Right.
Yeah.
That's dope. That's really dope. And especially teaching little kids, like starting from a young age, right? Because like our kids today, I feel, I don't have children, but I like to speak as if I do. Because I'm around children a lot, right?
Yeah.
They are so stuck on technology, right?
Yeah.
What do you think? Like they're like on the computer, on the phone. They know all the new tricks. They know
Yeah,
everything.
because they grew up with it, and like
Yeah.
especially touching on social media, I'm so glad that now we are actually embracing our skin,
Yeah.
and that's pushed on social media. So now we have that outlet, because you know, like Soulflower said, like, you know, I always said, in the past, like European standards of beauty was what was pushed.
Yeah.
So at least now we can showcase our own beauty.
Right. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say that also too, on the other side of it, as much as we are liberated and we believe in ourselves and Black is beautiful, and it's great that that's there, on the other side of it, when we look into like the Caribbean islands, there is a true committed belief that the browner or the lighter you are, the better you are, and there's just like anti-Blackness within ourselves. So it's like catch-22. It's like we're fighting with this resilience, and then at the same time, we have people that are also believing in the fact that they have to change themselves to be enough.
Right. And I think that has to do with, like, I come from the Caribbean, right? So, like, I was born in Jamaica. I lived in Jamaica until I was 14 years old. So, like, that's, like, the growing up age, like, you know, when you're really, like, influenced by things. And, like, I received a lot of hate for my skin. Like, as you can see, I'm dark, right? So I grew up with people calling me all kinds of names. Just like she said in her music video, like, you're ugly, you're, all the negative, all the bad. Jamaicans can be brutal. Like, we all know Jamaicans are very honest. They will tell you the truth. They're not afraid to speak their mind.
I think that's like a common like West Indian.
It's like an island thing, right?
Yeah.
And we do it with no apology sometimes.
Right.
And with a big smile on our faces. Like, so like, I grew up with that whole thing. So I had to learn how to get over that, especially working in the field that I work. Like, just building up that self-confidence and like getting over being called all these awful names, sometimes by people that are very close to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's hurtful. Like, you work with a lot of men. Like, I can't even imagine your world. Like,
So, the interesting thing is, like, the people close to me, even families, right? We come from different shades. And although that colorism is always towards like darker skinned women, I've seen light skinned women in my family or my friends being someone telling them like, "Oh, you cute for a light skinned girl." And I'm like, so
I don't like that flora part.
Yeah, so although like if you look at the definition of colorism is towards a darker skinned person, but light skinned people get it too, like right? So instead of us embracing ourselves as one, like people, right? Different colors, different shades. I think they get this notion, like you said about the Caribbean, like not necessarily loving themselves and not necessarily embracing who they are. Right. As far as like men don't go through that. Like the conversations that we have with Brothers in Briefcases is not necessarily about colorism.
You don't think so?
I have to disagree.
No.
Yes.
We was all in the side eye.
Again, right? So we speaking on our experiences and the things that we've actually seen, right? Because I have dark-skinned men in my family, dark-skinned men who are my friends,
a whole bunch of
and then
shades
I
in
have
mine.
light-skinned men in my family as well, and I've never heard them speak about not liking their skin as much as I hear the women in my family or friends not liking their skin or facing that colorism situation.
Okay,
right?
I really want I want to hear your opinion on that whole thing about men, because I know you work in fashion, and I know that African American men go through a lot in the fashion and music industry, and in the entertainment industry. So please tell me what you think.
The first part I wanted to touch on, how you were saying you hear more women speak about it versus men. I also think that has to do with a whole different aspect. Like men are brought up in this, toxic masculinity. I can't express what I'm going through.
Exactly.
And if I am to express, what I'm going through, it could be seen as weak.
I mean,
and
I get that. That's the reason why I created Brothers in Briefcases, right? To create this safe space for men of color to be vulnerable, to express their feelings. And we've done that, right? But we've never really talked about that, like colorism, as much as talking about, hey guys, you could be vulnerable, you could be sensitive, in order for us to be able to understand what you're going through.
It's probably even that, like, I think for as human beings, it's like we have to break through something
Yes.
to even get to the other
Yes.
conversations. And so socially, emotionally, it's like, it's almost like it's not like, we are traumatized, passively, aggressively, but traumatized. And for men, I feel like men are in a position, I'm not a man, but I know that the young men I've talked to and worked with, they're not in a position where they can live beyond this mask they gotta put on. Just as much as women do too, right?
Yeah, so like colorism wouldn't be the first conversation we'll have if they're being brought up in this whole like macho world, right? We will have to kind of break that down first for us to be able to talk about the colorism within them.
And I've heard a lot of my guy friends also mention that they've had either girls they like say, oh no, you're too dark, or I want a light, bright guy. So they do go through it, but like you were saying, they probably are just like, oh, I don't want to talk about it to make
Because men don't like to talk.
Well, because they also have more like bigger issues, right?
I'm sure there's like layers
Like
on
violence.
top of that.
It's a big issue though. I don't
It's
know
still
about
violent.
No,
bigger
but
issues,
when I mean like not like bigger issues like colorism is not important, but what I mean is if you are a man of color and you're sitting here trying to be one with yourself, the first thing you're not gonna talk about is colorism, right? You're gonna talk about, all right, they're killing our black brothers. Let's create.
It's
this,
all connected.
but for them, it's like let's create this brotherhood. right? It's not
It's
necessarily
like that bonding. It's like that football team type mentality.
Well, not even football team. Let's kind of educate one another. Let's talk about this because maybe they don't speak to us about it, but they speak among themselves
to develop
to develop their relationship to be able to.
You really think that guy? I mean, I know you work with a lot of guys, right? But do you really think that guys sit down and talk about color?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
I know it's
Absolutely.
different, man.
I mean,
Sometimes I wonder.
and you have to think about it, right? So, Brothers in Briefcase is a platform from every type of man, from every walks of life. So we have men who are in corporate America who, of course, they're going to not necessarily look at it as colorism, but is racism, right?
Yeah.
And then we have this black man or brown man who just graduated from college who's trying to kind of understand what the world is. And on top of that, they're being killed. So, of course, the conversation might be like, hey, my brother, let's kind of
The
unite.
only reason why I ask that question is because sometimes I feel like because the world is so, at least to me, the world is so like crazy these days that a lot of people try to shut it out, right?
Correct, yeah.
So like some men just like, especially when you're a busy dude and you have a lot of work and you're on your way, like just shut out all that talk, all of that. So like, I don't know, that's why I asked that question.
Gildia, you mentioned brotherhood. So how come we don't really see that for women, like creating a sisterhood? Because it seems like there's more division
in women.
Yeah,
because
like,
I feel like women compete too much, right? Like,
But I also think we're far more put in a position to
compete.
Let's go. Okay,
For
let's go
male
back to Spice,
attention?
right? Let's in her music video, she said, and I want to quote her because I don't want to mess it up because I think she did good. She said,
and she probably watching.
She said, I had a dream that one day black women would start supporting each other rather than bashing each other. Then she went on to say, ladies, never forget that you are beautiful, lovely, attractive, courageous, and kind. And then she said, I'm black without apology. I think that's a dope statement. You know what I mean? I think that's a really dope statement. I mean, what do you think coming from your world? And like, I know she comes from a more of an entertainment world. You come from, I don't know exactly what your world is like. So like,
I think, what you're going back to is that we talk about on the surface level, we're not being able to express beyond the veil and all of this. But if we really pay attention to it, it starts when we're children. It starts when we're little kids, in the classroom, in the school. In my experience going into schools, if I go into a school and we talk about discipline and behavior, it's literally a color hue for what students get sent to the office. So the darker the student, the more students that are darker end up in the office, detention, suspensions, expulsions, and I think it's because like we've all even I think that's what she's talking about us being more unified is because we've like internalized this idea that it's all about who's better than the next person.
And that comes down to like a lot of it comes down to technology these days and what people are consuming.
I don't even agree with that.
I think it's been around.
Remember, let's think about our parents. Like back in the day, y'all know what Ambi is? Who know what Ambi is?
Ambi?
Yes. But see, when I was a little kid, my auntie being from Jamaica giving me Ambi, I just thought it was lotion.
No, Ambi.
And I did a little bit of research. I was 12, 13 years old, and I was like, wow, Ambi's a bleaching cream, and I didn't even know it. And it's just something that was a part of the community that we use to moisturize our skin. So I don't think it's just technology. I even remember grandparents and aunties talking about who you should marry and who you should have children with because the complexion of your child could be lighter
or darker.
I feel it goes back to colonization because we never had an issue with our skin until we were told
that it was a problem.
That we were inferior. And this happens in Asian cultures. Like the darker ones get mistreated, and then also even South American cultures as well. So all of those,
all ethnicities and all cultures,
and they were all affected by colonization. So I mean, it's really sad.
It's
really sad. Like wow,
bleaching has become such a big thing in the Caribbean islands, right?
I wonder why.
You don't. What do you mean? You wonder why?
Like, I mean, I'm just like. Maybe because I don't necessarily. I was born in Guatemala, and I don't know anyone in my community who has bleached their skin.
Well, let's think about bleach not just as a cream, but like how we dress, how we talk, how we walk, how we change who our natural selves are. I think beyond just the cream, like every country I've ever been to, I can go into an establishment and say it's a bank. From the janitor to the CEO to the chief executive officer is like literally darker to lighter. Like I think that we do it in different types of ways. So even in like South American countries, when I think about that, like when you think about politics, you look at who has most power. It's always the lighter complexion people. It's like historical for like civilizations.
And that whole thing, I think, has to come down to privilege. And I want to talk about privilege, but before we do that, we do have to take a break. So what we're gonna have you guys do is pay attention to our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
That was good.
Hi, so welcome back to the dinner table. I hope you enjoyed those messages from our sponsors. So before we went on break, we were talking about skin bleaching, and a lot of influential celebrities have been caught skin bleaching. Most notably, a Caribbean singer and entertainer, Vybz Kartel. So let's take a look at some clips and photos and see.
Just one. We have just one photo of Vybz Kartel, just to show you the before and after, right, of his skin bleaching. And before we went to break, you were talking about how in businesses, if I can remember, you were talking about how from the janitor up to like the CEO is like, touch on what you were saying, because I think that all comes down to privilege, right? A lot of people, bleach their skin because they think that it's going to bring them a better opportunity, right? They think they're going to get a better job. They think they're going to get a better man. They are a better woman, or they think they're going to get famous, whatever. A lot of people do that because they want to get that privilege, like I said.
I do think it's privilege. I also, at the same time, need to always remind myself, especially like as a Pan-Africanist, as like Afrocentric person, not to demonize folks, because it's almost like these social constructs have programmed us to be a certain way. So while there are people that, yes, want to buy into the privilege, there's also some people that don't even think about it. It's just like a part of one's lifestyle until it starts to burn their skin. It starts to harm them. It starts to, remember perming the hair back in the day before everybody believed natural? Right? And it's like, thank God.
Natural was lit.
I used to be so glad that my mom would use the pressing comb instead of perming, because the perm used to burn. And that's exactly what happens with the skin.
I stopped perming my hair, I can't even tell you the age, but very early. And I was just like, I'm not doing it again. I don't care what anybody in my family says. There's no perm touching this hair.
But my main thing is for us to remember that like all these choices, to not demonize our brothers and our sisters, like she said, about unifying, because we have to understand it's like in the fabric of our society that people are making some of these decisions. Like nobody wakes up in the day and says, I want to burn my skin off.
Yeah.
No, but it's like in the root of how you feel and how you think. And I think that comes, a lot of people got to do a lot of work on themselves.
Yes.
Right? Like,
Self-healing.
It's all about like yourself. Like if you wake up and you feel a certain way, like I'm not a doctor, right? But I like to think about this stuff like skin bleaching and all this from like a medical standpoint, right? I went to Howard. I studied psychology. So I feel like I didn't study it, but I have studied it. And I feel like a lot of people are suffering from like body dysmorphia or like low self-esteem.
I do think though that we also have to like not just be like, oh, we do have to heal, we do have to work on ourselves, but I think we need to call white supremacy. We need to say that the things that exist in front of us that seem simple to everybody is not simple. It's tearing our community apart, and we need to call a spade, and just call things out that's happening around us. Or what happens is our kids inherit this stuff and believe it to be true that we should bleach.
And
But
also, it is like systemic oppression because you were saying, lighter people get treated better. And even for jobs, they did a study, I think, and they were saying black sounding names, whatever that means.
What do you mean whatever that means? There's a lot of black sounding names.
But I don't like to say black sounding names because that's stereotypical.
You're saying that's systemic, right?
Yes, it's systemic. And so they were discriminated against just by, white hiring managers saying, oh, look at this name. So I feel it's the same thing. You could go into an interview and they're like, no, I don't want to hire that person. They might be too dark and they might not say it to you, but then pass you over for a job. So until, like you said,
Happened to me before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So,
It was actually a really long time ago when I first started working, when I was right out of high school. I went to a private school, so I'm a little bit more articulate. I was very choosy on my language because I really wanted a job. It was at like a cake factory. It was something really cute. And over the phone, they had made it seem like cat was in the bag. I already got it. And then once I arrived and they finally met me, they said, "Oh, you're so-and-so from this high school?" I said, yes. We spoke on the phone and they told me, they were like, oh.
See, I've suffered the opposite, right? Because my name is white. My name is Tiffany, right? To me, I know there's a lot of black girls with that name, but my whole full name, Tiffany Spencer.
Well, we got to remember that British influence. You know how our names are.
But on paper, it sounds.
Right, yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So when I show up, they're just like,
Oh, yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Well, I want to make 2 points. The first point is, just like you said, we have to call a space. We also have to hold ourselves accountable. Right? Because we also tear each other down in our community on a daily basis. And with the whole job and, Gildia Lopez, when people see me in an interview, they be like,
because they expect
you
something
married?
different.
I'm like, I know. I was born in Guatemala. Where your parents from? Guatemala? I'm sorry. So even with that, like,
They don't even expect dark skin.
They don't expect dark skin Latina.
Or South American.
Yes. Even within the Latin American community or, Caribbean American or whatever the case might be, they don't expect you to look like this with a last name Lopez. All right. So that's when I say we have to hold one another accountable because
like
we
our
do
own
it.
culture is accountable.
We do it to ourselves.
Yeah.
I think that was the point Spice was trying to make.
Yes.
Amongst her own community, how much she was
She
ridiculed
receives a lot of
beforehand.
hate.
Yeah.
Like, because people get jealous of your success. Like, there's people out
You mean
there.
that she's getting successful off of that, saying it?
No,
and
like
she's dark-skinned.
because you're a successful woman, like in the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
Like, there's people who want to do what you're doing, right? And sometimes they don't have the capacity to do it or the resources or whatever. They can't reach where you're at, and they don't know how you got there. And so they'll start hating you for no reason, and they don't know you.
And
at
use
all.
anything to target you.
And they'll target you, and they'll just sit and hate you off the phone, off the internet, wherever from home. People are brutal, and the stuff that they write to some of these people in this industry is brutal.
But then it goes back to, self-esteem, not letting those comments get to you.
Self-love.
Yeah, self-love. That's
the
the
home
answer.
too, like how you are raised and the type of love you are given and all that good stuff. My niece, she's a little curly blonde hair little girl.
Oh, cute.
Both of her parents are black, But we've been in the street and people are like, is her father white? I'm like, no. Her father darker than all of us. Like, no, she's not.
Say my
you know?
baby sister's like really light fair skin. She's got like this different textured hair. So
That's the whole black thing. We come out all different kinds.
Hello.
We come out all different kinds of ways, and that I think some people in America or all over the world struggle with are still struggling
We understand.
with understanding that. But that is in all cultures. Like, we all come out differently. We all come out in different ways. But for some reason, when it comes to African American or black people, like, there's this deep-rooted like thing, and we know where it all comes from. I mean,
you
Colonization.
talked about it before.
Colonization. You touched on that.
But it's just so sad that in the last 400 years it did so much damage.
But it makes so much sense, though, right?
It did so much damage because it was generation after generation,
Yeah.
and when a generation was brought up in such toxicity, they only raise children to be brought up the same way what they know, and vice versa.
But we were
breaking
prospering centuries before that.
Yeah.
You know?
It's still a process.
It's not only a process, but we also have to remember that trauma doesn't get fixed overnight, right? And so when you're in your mother's womb, whatever trauma she's experiencing while you're in her womb, it's happening to you too. And so when we think back on time, and if Massa has intimacy, sex relations with a black woman and has a biracial child, and he wants to protect that child, but also doesn't want to give the child all the riches, so I'll give you the job in the big house. So then all of a sudden you have a political, economical system that says the lighter you are, the better job you get because you're in the big house, like the bank, like in schools, like in discipline.
That's like the inside.
In dating.
It's true that you said, especially when someone is telling you, if you date this type of person or you come home with this type of person, we're going to disown you. I'm like, but love is...
I mean, it was just a few years ago that that people were getting sent back to Haiti that lived in the Dominican Republic their whole entire
Let me start
lives.
with that.
You know what I mean?
Let
And
me start with that.
we talking about 400 years ago. That was what, 3?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? 2?
Even back in, 2007 is the first time, like, Mississippi had the interracial prom. Like,
I heard about that, yeah.
Like,
2007?
Yeah.
I did not know about that. That's
Like, it was
wild.
2007,
And you
yeah.
have some people telling us to get over, but it still continues.
It's worse. It's worse.
It's happening. Like, I have friends, right, that like come from Africa, right, but they're light skinned, right, and then they're in America and they identify as black, right, but they're fair complexion and curly hair, and people will say you're not black, and then you go through that identity crisis of like, yo, I am black.
Yes, yes.
That's hard. That's hard. Women, I think women go through it harder than men. I don't know, but men do too in a different way.
I don't know. I don't want to say harder about anything because
So
we're talking about
we're
like
not working- so
psychological
we're not
warfare.
I
We're
do
talking about
agree
toxicity.
because even during that time, who got the right to vote first? Not the black woman, the black
Men
man.
did. Yeah.
Okay.
Men still have a step
Men
up on
still,
us.
I guess.
So are we talking about access? Or are we talking about psychological stuff, right? Because if we're saying someone has it better for trauma versus someone has it better for the access they have, those are two separate things.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I like as a woman. I always have to try to remember to advocate because I feel like black men in the world are in the most danger than any other creature in life. And so traumatically, I think that everyone just has a really horrible circumstance that they have to heal through. And also, right, it's not either or.
Yeah.
Folks need to get jobs and men are going to get the opportunities faster. But like working with young boys, when I get behind the scenes with them and I start hearing how they feel and what's going on, suicide, I mean, it's just
Men
deep.
are in danger. They're in like serious
But you know,
danger.
again, that's the reason why Brothers in Briefcases was created, right? Because we are in this like Black Girl Magic movement. We have to
love Black
support
Girl
one
Magic.
another.
Yeah.
But we also want like black families. We want a black man. But if we're not pouring into our men and helping them heal and
We say
having
we. You say we, right?
Yes.
You're including everybody because I feel like there is this part of America or this part of our culture that is so like against black men. They're just
Well,
like,
but then,
So
of
did you
course.
see the hashtag Black Boy Joy?
Even like, you know, Black Men Smile, if y'all don't follow them. They're my friends. They created this like whole notion that black men do smile, right?
Yes.
You know, going back to what I was saying, so like all this Black Girl Magic stuff and we want black families, but our men are broken, and they're broken from when they're kids. And like you said, trauma is not overnight, right? So in order for us to be able to have constructive conversations and have constructive relationships with people who look like us, we have to be able to be transparent.
Yes.
You know, and not judge.
But then there's that fear when it comes to men. I come from
I
a
want you
family
to
of
come
a lot
to
of
Brothers
men.
and Briefcases
I
on
will,
Saturday.
I
want you to come.
But I come from a family filled with men, like honestly. Like,
Me
I know
too.
a lot of men. And I feel like men nowadays sometimes don't want to talk about it.
I need you to come to
And
the event on Saturday.
they
Talk
just,
about it to who though?
Talk about it to other men, definitely.
Yeah, I don't think.
and they talk about it in a safe environment, right? Because
Yes.
again,
Okay,
we have this notion that we have to be tough on them because of how society wants them to be. If even as humans, if we talking at someone instead of talking to someone, they're
Yes.
not going to express themselves. They're
Yes.
not going to be transparent, right?
Let's come back from break and then we'll continue to talk about men because that's one of my favorite topics.
Hi, welcome back to the dinner
yeah, I'd like
table.
some.
So before we talk about men, let's go into this clip about a girl on Dr. Phil and showing that she believes she's not black.
I mean, it's not funny, but
I know a lot of people take issue with my beliefs. I'm white. I'm a Caucasian because everything about me is different from an African American. I have naturally straight hair. My hair isn't nappy. It doesn't require weave. My nose is not giant as like African Americans. My lips are perfect. They're not too big and they're not too small. Like, they're just perfect. My ears, I don't have black people ears because they're really giant. Most African Americans speak ghetto. But when it comes to black people, I think they're all ugly and I have nothing in common with them. I'm different from African Americans because I'm white. My figure is just like Kim Kardashian and she's a wonderful role model. I act and I think like a white person instead of a black person. I believe that I'm completely and utterly better than them. Like, we're on two different levels. Like, okay, African Americans are here, I'm here. White people act and think just way more mature than African Americans. Black people, they think in a criminal way. When I think about African Americans, I feel like asking them, what is wrong with them? They're really dangerous. If an African American is on the same street as I am, I'll cross the street to avoid their chaotic, thuggish ways.
Are you okay?
I'm irritated.
I'm sorry.
I just know that I'm white. I mean, she might not know that I'm white, but I know that I'm white. I can feel it through my veins, I feel it through my blood. I tell my mom, I'll never be like any of those Negroes. My mom tries to criticize me about my supposed race. I tell her she's just ignorant.
And the truth is,
Because I have freedom of speech and everything I'm saying is true.
He's bringing it back.
Okay, so that's a crazy clip. I just can't fathom, like, I personally think she did it for money or to get fame. Because she posted about 2 or 3 years ago on her Facebook saying black people go through so much in America. They're targeted by police. So that's why I personally think she just did it for money. But then again, it's like, why do this for money and sell out
all
African Americans.
And be that just detail. She said, I feel it in my veins. I feel it in
Oh,
my
my
blood. I'm
my
like, girl, what are you
nose, my
feeling?
ears. Like, she really went there.
I think immediately after this aired, she experienced
Some
colorism.
hate.
If she hasn't already, she experienced
Some
it now.
colorism,
She
yeah.
experienced it.
If you remember, like a few months ago, or I guess a few years ago, Bad Barbie, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, Danielle
Yeah,
Bergoli,
yeah.
she went on there, you know, acting kind of the reverse, a little Caucasian girl going on there acting, you know, trying to appropriate, I guess,
Saying she was black.
Yeah.
What she thinks is black.
what she thinks is black.
'Cause
However,
you know, everybody want
she
to be
was
black
praised
until they
with
have
it,
to
though.
walk.
Well,
Praised
you know,
with it,
people are
she's got-
confusing ethnicity and race.
Yes.
Like a lot
yes.
of people, like I'll let you finish, of course. But
I
like,
wanted to. I'll at the end of my little spew. But I think what you were saying. I think that definitely was an attention and a cry for attention. I think she went on there with the intent of getting some sort of backlash and getting it positive, just like how Danielle Bergoli did. It was some sort of fame, whether it was positive or negative.
Let's touch upon what she even said, the stereotypical statement saying, my ears aren't black, they're
I'm like, my ears are not big.
Like everyone said, black people come
same
in
thing.
all shapes, sizes, and shades.
Right.
So she's definitely perpetuating these wrong stereotypes.
right, and then she talks about like the names. Like I don't
Which
sound.
one?
Like,
Oh.
if you like the whole
Yeah.
like further on in the episode, she even went on to say that she doesn't act like black people.
Yeah.
Black people are so ghetto.
She
And
doesn't
like
have a,
she really went there.
Almost like she put like this
wait a
caricature.
minute.
yeah.
She doesn't need to perm her hair.
Yeah, my hair is naturally straight. Like,
Yes.
you give a grip on who you are, please.
She needs to comb her hair.
Like, no, like, come on,
know
I laugh
good
at that. What do you
now.
think?
Ooh, I think it's so layered. I feel where y'all coming from, and
I know it's
I
layered.
I
I know
also
it is.
think that like black folks, we can't talk about race without talking about class.
Yes.
And when I think that we talking about our own people, I think as soon as our people start to move into a different class level, they start
Yes.
to becoming a little bit more anti-black.
Yes.
So like the moment you start getting the tricks of the trade of the rat race, there's a way in which people start to demonize, like, oh, she does that or he does that, as if you or your grandmama or your auntie's auntie didn't live that same lifestyle
yeah.
in their blackness. So I think it has to also do with, stush. You know what I mean? Stushes. You know what I'm saying? Exactly.
You get a little bit of money,
Yeah.
people start to act up a little bit, because they start to accomplish things that they never thought that they would be able to accomplish. They start meeting people or whatever they thought that they'd never be able to meet. And
I think also like monetary success starts to to veil itself as some type of healing because you're distracted because you feel good because you're having fun when you haven't really taken care of yourself, and all that stuff starts to come out. All the self-hatred, all that stuff starts to come out if it hasn't already, and folks start hating on their own communities because as much as we sit here and talk, I know every single one of us done said something.
I have.
You know what I'm saying? At some point, you know what I'm saying? And not because we want
Not
to.
Not about skin. I've never really looked at someone.
But
and hated on their
indirectly
skin
though.
or anything
But
like
think
that.
about indirectly. When we gossip or talk mess about the next one that's a black person, there's a way where it's always
You calling them
intermingled
ghetto,
and
you
connected
calling
because of the systematic stuff. Yeah, calling them ghetto or that
she
person hair
about to
too
be loud,
nappy or why she being so ratchet.
or thoughty or whatever. All of those.
It's all
terms,
coded language.
It's all coded, and
Yep.
it all is very dangerous to the black community. That's what I think.
So we talked a lot about the past and how colorism got started. We all know it's from colonialism. So what do we do looking to the future to change this?
Heal. It's that healing work. It's dialogue.
This type of conversations and appealing.
That's the reason why I started the Human Root, because I was like, how do I intersect and really just get young people before all this social construct starts to change and filter them? And that's the reason why I started the Human Root, because I figured if I talk to teachers and say, think about who you are and how you treat these young people because of anti-blackness, because of colorism. I think the first step is like the companies that we have is like starting these dialogues where people get to talk about it, because quite honestly, culturally, we were convinced to not talk about it. Yeah. Ignore it, be passive. And then we have depression and suicide, all these things. And that's why we do what we do, is to start these conversations and make people connect and feel human again and know that they're enough.
And I do feel like nowadays some people, there are people in the community that are speaking, that are talking, right? But then there, like you said, that whole trauma. Like, we've gone through so much that I feel personally, right? I went through a phase where I could not handle it anymore. I'm like, I cannot see any more dead Black people on TV. I cannot hear about any more dead Black people. I just cannot take it anymore. And I just kind of like shut that whole thing down. Like, I stopped watching the news. Like,
Yeah.
I
I
just
did
shut
the same.
Yeah.
I've
done that
I just
before
shut
too.
it down because I just have that kind of heart where I'm sitting at home, can't leave because I'm just like, they did what?
And you feel numb inside. Yeah.
Like, who got what? And then you start to think about your own family.
Yeah, I
and you're
remember
just
when
like,
all of that was happening. My husband, whenever he would leave by himself, like
You feel it in your body.
just this anxiety just taking over, and it's just like he's going to 7-Eleven down the block. He should be fine.
Right.
But you know, even just having like nephews who are 12 and 13, it's like,
babies.
are you going to school? Can you call me? You going to the store? You sure? You don't want me to go with you? Just having that anxiety. But yeah, again, you know, that's the reason why Brothers in Briefcases was created, because I needed the world to understand that Black men and brown men are so much more than, you know, what they see in the media, and so much more than just a Black young boy with a hoodie that you felt like you needed to kill, right? Because it's so much more. Like, we are so much more, and although, you know, we call a space, and, you know, white supremacy, we also have to, again, hold ourselves accountable, how we treat one another, and how we, you know, how we raise our children, and how we just kind of like have conversations with
family,
one another.
right?
You
I
know?
think we need to, I don't know, the world that I live in, like, I feel like a lot of people just need to get back to tradition,
Yeah.
You know, just like you came here at 14, I came here at 10, and it's like, you know, with my grandmother in the neighborhood, we had that, right? And you come here and you're like, kids don't have no tradition,
like,
no childhood, like they have,
Or even get to play outside like they used to. Something too, though, what I want to mention is like this word white supremacy is like a hot topic trigger word.
Yeah.
But when I say white supremacy, I am not talking about white people. I'm talking about us. I mean that we've internalized and started to believe a lot of the things that are happening in society, to where you have a man like Vybz Kartel looking like a completely different person.
I mean, Vybz Kartel and Sammy Sosa. Let's
I know. I mean, and the list is just on and on and on. And I, you know, in our own neighborhoods, at the bus stop, getting on the B44. You know what I mean? Like in Flatbush. So this, it's just that I think that
It's
we have to
loving-
know it's everywhere.
Yeah, loving ourselves.
Definitely loving ourselves.
Stop calling that little girl who's 7 years old Black Booty Scratcher, because it's that's something.
Do you remember that word?
Like the
African
worst.
booty scratcher.
Oh my God! You're African, right? So like, please, I want to know.
When we
what
were
you
kids, do you remember that term as a little
Yeah,
kid?
African
I
booty
remember
scratcher.
that.
Yeah, I was called that because I was actually homeschooled, and then when I went to regular school, I got called names like that. And I actually remember one situation. I got into a argument with an Indian girl. So of course, you know, she's also dark. And I guess she meant it as insult, like, oh, you so dark, like I can't even see, you know, your
Something.
eyebrows or something like that, like crazy.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, I know I'm Black. Okay, what's your point? So, I mean, I think that's another good tactic. Like, it goes back to confidence, self-esteem,
Yeah.
how you raise, because
But how do we
they
get there?
expect you to be crying, but when you don't show a reaction, they're like, oh.
How do we
But
get
how
to
have-
the confidence and the self-esteem?
Yeah, like not just the home, but I mean like as a human.
Community.
I mean as a human being. Like think about it. The things that have traumatized you or have been hard on your heart or have almost broken your spirit, you go to sleep crying, stressed out, whatever. Like it's not just like, oh, I need to build my confidence. Oh, I just need to do, like we're talking about, like you said, it's a process. So what's the process that y'all have done to be as confident as you are sitting at this table right now?
personally?
Because we have days when we didn't feel like this.
I know personally for me, I used to live in Los Angeles, and like Los Angeles is a world. Like that's all I'm gonna say about it. I feel like it's a whole little world by itself, right? I went through a phase where I read, worked out, and like stopped going out. Like I literally just started working on myself. Like, and I tend to get into that like isolation type phase, being that I'm a creative person. And I went through that, and I was just like, this is what I'm doing right now. And a lot of people did not understand me. A lot of people were just like, why won't you come out? Like people who were used to me going out all the time. Like, you know, like I lost friends during the process of me doing this, like, because I was just like, I'm cutting people out of my life that ain't right for me, that have been bringing me all kinds of different things. Like, I shrunk my big circle down to a very small circle.
Mm-hmm.
And
Start working on yourself.
and like, I feel like we need a lot of people, excuse me, don't do that. We don't do that.
I think isolation is great. I think being
Healthy isolation.
Yes, healthy isolation. I think being mindful of who's around you, being mindful of the type of conversations that you even have, right? Because it's funny because my friends and I was just having this conversation on Saturday. I'm like, at this age, you want those type of friends that show up for you because it's healthy for you, right? So just being mindful of that and not being afraid that although we've been friends since high school, junior high school,
It's okay to
you might not be my friend next year. Like, it's okay.
It's not personal, it's about
nothing,
progress.
It's nothing personal. And I encourage people to go to therapy because a lot of our internal and a lot of our younger self is the one who's acting up in our 20s and our 30s. It's our younger self. So when you go to therapy, you just kind of start unlayering
Guys,
things.
I just realized we never even talked about men. Like, it's okay. We'll talk about men on the next episode of the Dinner Table. We'll get to that because that is like a big, men is a big thing. Next week's episode is all about men. It's actually going to be a round table filled of very, very exciting people. So it's going to be fun. We all are entrepreneurs, right? I like to say that. Do you consider yourself an entrepreneur?
24 hours a day. It's the life I live.
So, like, unfortunately, we have to go soon. I know it feels like we haven't been talking for a long time, but we have been talking for a long time. So, I just want you guys to just tell everybody about, where we can find you, your business, all of that good stuff. So, please, go ahead, let me know.
My name's Anyawu, and you can find me at thehumanroot.com or at thehumanroot on any social media tip. We provide education around color, race, bias, how to really transform your community and really support each other and do some healing work.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And my name is Gildia Lopez. I am the founder of Brothers in Briefcases. We're having an event on Saturday, so if you guys want to come, the link is in the bio of Brothers in Briefcases on Instagram and Facebook. Brothers in Briefcases is for all Black and brown men, just to kind of highlight them. But women are welcome to be part of the conversation.
Hi.
What about you, babe?
I'm Soulflower. I'm a freelance wardrobe and personal stylist. I also do personal shopping for the New York City, Brooklyn, Bronx, those areas.
That's you. That's
what
How do they find
Where
you?
we can find you?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram at Soulflower, SOULFLOWR. There's no E.
Yeah, and you didn't do yours. I want you to do your handles
yes.
because people sometimes need to hear it.
Yes,
and all of that stuff,
Brothers in Briefcases is exactly how it would sound. Brothers with an S and N, not the N sign, A-N-D. Briefcases, our own handles. You can find me there.
Is that your only plug? You got a personal
Big up.
She's trying to get me all followers. Hey, Gildia Lopez, Guildia Lopez, L-O-P-Z is my other handle.
Yes, and we really want to remind everybody to vote.
Yes.
Go out and vote. I have friends that live in this city that left to go home to vote, which I thought was
That's
so
dope.
awesome.
Yeah.
It's that time right now. You got to.
Yeah, Lola. What about you, babe? What do you do? I know you do a lot. So please, let's tell
Well,
her.
mainly, I guess I'm focusing on my travel blog and my travel blog, La Vida Lola.
Yes.
So the handle is also lavidalola.co. But I'm really excited for all of you guys and your entrepreneurial ventures because I really think that's how we can grow in the African American community.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have to start our own businesses, give each other jobs so we can all elevate.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yes. This episode was so fun. I loved it. I love having like this whole setting of eating and talking about deep stuff. Like, I like that stuff. So I'm really glad you guys came on to the show. I hope you guys can come back again.
Thank
You
you.
gotta sound right. Now that you gave everybody my handle.
And next time, we're actually going to eat more food. So before we go, I'm going to eat more food. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please check us out at royaltylivingmedia.online. That's RLMN.online. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Monday. Bye.
Bye.